Hello.
Hi.
Welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Observatory. Today we have Nixxie Wolvercraft.
Hello.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself, about where you stream, all the platforms you're on, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm Nixxie Wolvercraft. I'm a Kitsune, Minecraft VTuber here on Twitch. You can find me at most places as Nixxie Wolvercraft, but um, Twitter sucks. So it's just Nix Wolvercraft on Twitter because I didn't have enough characters.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a very old Kitsune from a village that no longer exists in Japan.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
That's something that I want to eventually do. Let's be able to visit Japan.
I okay, so IRL, I've never actually been to Japan.
Yeah.
but lore wise I'm from Japan. So
Yeah, it's just something I've like wanted to do since I was like really little.
it's visiting Japan has, I think, what's funny enough, what got me really to want to go visit Japan was the Trouble in Tokyo Teen Titans movie.
I don't even know
Like I
what
saw
got
that.
me wanting to go there. I can't remember. All I know is I
No.
just kind of became like a place I wanted to go when I was young. I can't remember what exactly caused it.
Hmm.
But let's jump into your chart.
Okay.
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 So, what I'll start off with is kind of what I've been, telling others so they know what their big three is. Because the whole you probably know what your sun sign is because it's the one that goes by the month, right?
Yeah.
So you already know Libra for
Hmm.
a sun sign. Now, for your moon sign, you're a Pisces moon.
Ooh. Okay.
And then your rising, which is trying to hide behind my head, is Virgo.
All
Which is
right.
this green right here. So, your big three would be a Libra sun, Pisces moon, Virgo rising.
Okay.
Now, one thing that you have that you share with a couple of other people that have been on so far is an interception. So yours is not as huge, like not like you can't like almost tell since it's so close to the line.
Okay.
But it's like you have this space where there's nothing, no lines touching either Scorpio or Taurus. So it's the same interception that light actually had, the same energies, but you have them in
Oh.
different houses, so it's going to play out different.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Where do I want to start? Because you got a lot of stuff going on in here. You got some fun arrows. You got this.
It looks like a jumbled
uh,
mess. It-
let's see. So you do okay. Look, even though like your rising is Virgo, because it's gonna be like in person how you come off to people, the Virgo energy, which is
okay.
being like probably a little meticulous about certain things. Some people might see you as being OCD about certain like aspects of yourself, but it's
Okay.
almost
That
but
that you're like, you seem meticulous. You seem mostly. I'm like, well, I have been told that I should probably go get checked for a diagnosis of OCD, but I know I don't have it because I've seen people with actual OCD
yeah,
before.
that's what I'm saying. It's not like actual, OCD because it's not like psychosis, but it's like there's just certain tendencies you have when people see you in person, like just like things you do that people would think that. But it's not like more like psychosis level, it's just that that's how people perceive you when they meet you.
Gotcha.
One thing also is like you have Jupiter like really close, like really close to your rising like line right here. So
Okay.
when you have like a planet that's like really close to like one of your angles, which would be like your ascendant, your IC, your descendant, and your midheaven, when you have planets that are like really close, they tend to have more of an impact in that area. And like for you, you have Jupiter there, which is the planet of if I'm here, I'm gonna bring more of an like big announcement, like make it bigger, larger than life, anyways. So it's almost like meeting you in person has more of an impact, I would say, than your online persona. Like
Um,
very easily, just because of what people pick up from meeting you. Like if you
okay.
had Jupiter up here, like close to up here, it would seem like your persona is larger than life, as opposed to when someone meets you in like person and they like see your tendencies and they're like that kind of overrides everything that they'll learn about you is like their impression of you.
Oh, okay.
Because they can like learn stuff about you later, but it's almost like whatever impression you give off when you meet somebody, it's like it sticks with them.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Even if you don't mean for it, even if you know them forever and you like, you know, they learn new stuff about you, that first impression is just something that just gets burned in.
That's just they see me like that forever. I'm never gonna be anything else. Dang, okay, I see.
Like they can learn other stuff, but I feel like no matter what, they're gonna keep defaulting to the first like major thing that blew up in their mind when they like met you, kind of thing.
Right.
Now, one thing also I want to point out because you have a yod kind of like something I have. It's different because it has different legs. So it's probably gonna show up a lot different for you. But and also mine's hitting Uranus, which is an asshole. Oh my god, I called Uranus an asshole. I just realized that
Where's
my
mine?
brain my brain just collected that late. But this right here, you have Neptune as the end of yours in the sixth house. So yours is gonna have more to do with like the subconscious and more with like your mental space as opposed to like it's like it's weird because the sixth house is supposed to be like your physical health, your routines. It could also be your coworkers because it's like people you kind of have to see every day
Right.
kind of thing. So it can be your house pets too.
Oh,
So it's like you have this thing in here where it's like Neptune is 12th house, which is like mental health and the subconscious and things like that. So having that over here and making like all this energy be pulled towards it, it's almost like it is true that mental does affect physical for everyone in some capacity, but yours is like very hinged on that. Like your mental pretty much dictates your physical.
oh. Oh, okay then. I'm sorry. Just like every time, every like, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to say this, but every time you keep just the more you're saying, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because like I've noticed, like when I'm in a good headspace, I'm much better about my routines and staying on track and being like physically and healthy. But and this isn't even just recently. I've noticed a decline in my mental health because of some
Mm.
bullcrap drama that's been happening recently. And I've noticed that I've kind of slipped out of some of my patterns that I was hoping to continue. So, like, I didn't. Dang, I really just need to get my mental health better.
Yeah, it's like for some people they would be able to push through more like mental health stuff and just keep doing their stuff. But for you, like it's so hinged on it that it's like if you don't pay attention to it and get it better, it'll just keep, going the other way. That's why like it's so important when stuff like hits it for you to be like, okay, I need to do something about this. Even if other people say it's not important, I know myself it's important, and that's what you need to like remember. Because
Gotcha.
the thing is, like, it's the point, but what makes up your point is the Jupiter I was talking about. So once again, it's bringing it back to that physical aspect to like when people actually see you, it's very apparent that something's not going right in this space.
Mm.
So it pulls that energy from what people see of you and they like it throws it in here. So you have that, and then your other one is Saturn in Cancer up here in the 11th house, which like the 11th house is your friend groups. So your mental health is directly impacted by the people that meet you in person and like how you're doing yourself in person, and then your friend groups. So it's very easily like swayed by these things, or like how you view your own appearance too.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's like without even realizing it, it's like that stuff just kind of feeds into that, and you need to make sure that you have boundaries with it,
gotcha.
which is going to be a little hard having a Pisces moon because moon energy is like your inner world, the thing you kind of keep for yourself. So it's your
Right.
emotions, all that kind of stuff. Having Pisces energy is like, once again, that 12th house energy I was talking about, which, is subconscious, but it also, Pisces energy is not the best with boundaries, and it's more prone to
Oh.
escapism. So
Oh.
it's a lot easier to run from the things that make you upset instead of actually putting up boundaries and saying, hey, this makes me upset, I don't want it around me, kind of thing.
Oh.
It's just a
I'm
lot of
sorry. This just like this is so fascinating to me. I've never seen I've heard about this, and I think I've got one friend who like asks me like, "Do you know your moon and your rising?" And I'm like, "I don't know any of that." But this is it's so interesting cuz like it makes a lot of sense when I'm like applying it to myself cuz like let me like even just recently, right? Like
Mhm.
I just yesterday had a huge falling out with a couple of friends and I slept I totally disregarded my entire morning routine this morning because I was really just so tired and upset from yesterday.
Well, that's the one thing. It's like, it's okay to pull away from that stuff if you're doing what you need to do to get back to, like, you know, that, oh, thank you for the follow. But, to get back to your, like, mental, where you need to be, like,
Mhm.
sometimes you need to take breaks from things to, like, and I think that's one thing here is, like, one thing that you need to give yourself, what's the word? My words come back to me.
Grace?
Yeah, it's like it was like grace because that was like one of the synonyms my brain was trying to give me. And that's
Oh.
it's like compassion, things like that. It's like you gotta
Right.
like this is that one spot where you need to have that for yourself is when it like comes to like something that strongly affects your mental. You need to be able to like step back and go, okay, I need to get this like on straight instead of telling myself I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, because that just adds
Right.
more to it. So, and that's so important to like you being able to get back to yourself. So, like I said, don't like try to make yourself into one of those people that just pushes through their emotions and just pushes through how their mental's doing. I can talk from experience.
That
I am one of
actually
those people.
yeah, that it's funny cuz like I've tried that before to be like just like push through it, like forget it like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just going to move on." Oh shit.
I'm sorry.
Ugh.
I'm sorry. My yawns have or contagious.
The yawns have transferred. Um, but I've tried before to just like push through that kind of stuff and like not stress about it or worry about
Mhm.
it. Like been like, you know what, this happened. I just need to put my put my put my big boy pants on and just move on, right?
Mhm.
But I've never really been able to do that. I always end up having to come back to it and be like, okay, I need someone to talk about this with.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's something therapy could be very beneficial because, you know, sixth house is also the house of health. So doing like routines with health, like which could be like actually therapy, could be beneficial for learning like because I know people see therapy a lot as just like trauma stuff, but therapy is also a really good tool for like learning how to create like boundaries and stuff, which would be very beneficial for you
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, you know, because it gives you tools and how to like manage your emotions and how to like set up certain things in relationships and stuff and understand dynamics when it doesn't come as easy to you. It's not just for
Gotcha.
like trauma dumping, basically. It's like learning tools that help you get through life if like things aren't coming as easy, is basically what it's for. Even though like it has that stigma of like it's just for like crazy people. I'm sorry, I probably am a crazy person and I had to go to therapy, but I had an amazing therapist and she was hilarious. And she dropped a lot of her professional things because of listening to my stuff. Just made her like cuss a lot.
I had a therapist like that back when I was in high school, but she I ended up having to obviously I graduated, and so I haven't seen her, talk to her in a while because she's a therapist through the school,
Mm,
right? And so I haven't really been able to find a therapist since, and it's been about 2 years now.
yeah. Like if that was something that gave you stability, it might like be good to kind of like look into stuff. Or maybe you could
Hmm.
contact her and ask her for recommendations because she might have some.
Oh, that's a good idea. Actually, let me write that down. Good idea.
Because having something that's stable like that to kind of keep you on track is really good for like helping build foundations. And like, you know, just looking through your chart, you don't have a lot of energy to give you foundation.
Oh.
Like your most of your energy is very like sporadic. To put
That's
it.
definitely a way to put it.
And plus you have the same Chiron as everybody that I've read for so far. Is everyone just showing up with the same wound to my show so far? Literally everybody's had their Chiron in Capricorn so far. But this is what I've talked about before with, you know, it can show up in many different ways for different people, but it's mainly that wound around success or being taken serious about your success, or it even goes as far as being like a dad wound if like things weren't well with the father or the father was absent or just feeling like you won't measure up because you idolize, I don't know what that word was, the father. It can come out in a lot of different ways, and having it in your fifth house, it might feel like you have like this lock on your creativity to where it's almost like this wound comes up every time you try to create something that you're happy about.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I don't have the best relationship with my biological father. Um, he was very absent when I was a kid. Um, and he's gotten better. We have a better relationship now, but he just wasn't there for like at least a good until I was like 12, right? Like
Mm,
that's when
the
he
formative
got a
years.
yeah, he got a kick in the pants from my mother when I was 12. And um the relationship has never really kind of recovered because he continued to make a lot of and I don't blame him for this, but it's just I can see that. And it's part of the
Mm,
reason I'm actually I'm moving, thankfully, because I
mm,
currently live with him because my mom lives in a different state. So I'm actually moving and I live with him at the moment, but I'm finally moving out of his house, which I think
mm-hmm.
I'm hoping is going to be a lot better cuz I feel very, like you said, I feel like very restricted with what I can do while I'm at his house because they've got a very, very different set of rules compared to how I want to live my life.
Mm,
Right. So I feel very confined in terms of like, I have to do these things, I have to do this at my dad's house, which is why I'm moving.
well, there you go. It's good to how can I put this? It's like one thing that the wound is always teaching us is how to, like, you know, do better for ourselves, because it comes up pretty much like throughout our life. Like we're always trying to work on some portion of it, trying to heal it because it's just like really ingrained. But
Hmm.
one thing it's always trying to teach us is like what we want and what out of it will make us happy. Like what are our non-negotiables, because it'll keep
Right.
bringing stuff up over and over again to like kind of send it home, like you haven't really decided yet on this, so we're going to bring up another instance, like kind of thing that just keeps bringing you back to it, and you're like, I thought I worked through this, but I guess not, like that's what it
I thought
feels
I was
like.
over this trauma, but it keeps coming back.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. And that's why it's called like the wounded healer. And the thing is, like, having this wound makes it to where it's like you kind of like gravitate towards others that share similar things, and you're better at helping them than helping yourself.
That I can definitely agree with. The saying, you can't help others if you don't help yourself, like that kind of saying, like that does not apply to me at all. I'm so much better at helping other people, even if I'm like sitting there bawling my eyes out, and someone messages me, and they're like, "Hey, I need someone to talk to right now." I dry my tears and talk to them and help them. Like I'm
Yeah.
so bad at helping myself, but I'm like fantastic at helping others.
Yeah, that's one of the things where that's also the boundary thing, because the thing with Capricorn having the restrictions, it's also boundaries. So you
Mhm.
having a wound with boundaries just makes it that much harder for you to be able to feel like it's okay to even have them.
Right.
Because the only like restrictions you have are ones that you're fighting against, instead of like making restrictions that are healthy for you mentally and emotionally, which affect you physically.
Gotcha. Right. Just I'm just a hot fucking mess, man.
The way you said that about your chart is why I was laughing so hard, because you're like, it's just
I am the physical embodiment of this chart right now. It's a mess over there and it's a mess in real life. I'm just I'm just doomed to live in the mess.
not really. It's just like, see, the thing is, you are young, and having this like dad way over here, like you said, it took till later in life for him to come around and start, like, you know, making the relationship. Which, having the Saturn in Cancer, he can be a very nurturing dad. He
Mhm.
can. But at the same time, it's like so removed that it almost feels like it might as well be like a grandparent or a step parent instead of like an actual parent.
Right. That
So,
actually sounds so accurate. Like I guess yeah, he acts, and the way I kind of portray him, I don't really like, I love him a lot, right? Like I love
mm,
him and he's great. He's a great dad, but at the same time, like he's more like, I mean, yeah, he's more stepdad material,
yeah.
which is kind of bad to say, but at the same time, like I don't know, man.
And you see, that's the whole thing, is like, because it feels a little like more removed than like, okay, look, one thing I also want to say about your moon, it's in your seventh house, and the moon also represents the mom. I could see your mom being very involved in your relationships.
Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit.
And it's sometimes it's hard because trying to communicate that she's overly involved can be a stressor with this why am I trying to call it obtuse? Maybe she's very dense when it comes to you trying to express that she is very overly involved in your relationships. But my brain is completely blanking on the name of you. Aspect. Why? Maybe she acts oblivious. I don't know. Like, to the fact that she's overstepping. She's just oblivious to it. But you having this in here just creates, like, a lot of tension. And there needs to be balance between you being able to speak up and say, like, hey, like, you're really, like, overstepping here. Like, in expressing your emotions. Because you might be able to talk more in the sense of, like, you know, speaking freely on what you value, but when it comes to your actual emotions around what you value, it's harder.
Right.
So it's
That makes sense.
almost like you trying to talk to her is like, you know, you love her, but at the same time it's like, look, you can't be this involved.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm so thankful I'm like moving completely out of my parents' house. I'm not living with my mom or with my dad anymore. Because
I'm telling you,
shit.
the yawns are crazy. The yawns are crazy.
Dude,
They're
what
taking
is
over
it with the
everything.
yawns today? It's like, oh, it's Sunday. Make them yawn as much as physically
I
possible.
know.
um, but yeah, I can see that. My mom has been very involved in everything my entire life. So, um, it went from like, I don't want to say she's a helicopter parent because she's not a helicopter parent in the traditional sense, if that makes sense.
No, she's more of an
Like,
emotional helicopter parent.
yes, yes, yes. I would, yes. Like, she's very vocal, and I try and explain my feelings half the time, and she's just like, oh, it's okay, oh, it's okay, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay, that's the point.
Just trying to validate your emotions, but in the sense while she's doing it, she's invalidating them.
Exactly. She's like, I understand. I'm like, no, you don't. If you understood, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now.
Oh my goodness. It's an opposition. I finally remembered the word. Opposition. There we go. Finally, I remembered the freaking word for that thing.
They're
They're
exact
at odds
opposites of
with each
other.
other. But
Oh, I'm not surprised. They were the kind of people when they got married straight out of high school at 18 and had me right away.
mm.
And then got a divorce very quickly.
Well then. Well, it seems like for some things they're probably on the same wavelength, but it comes to certain emotions and I think your dad kind of shuts down.
Yes. Yep.
Like
Yes, he
she's
does. He and I think that's part of the problem that I have with him is he shuts down. He doesn't like take it like fully take everything into consideration, and because he doesn't understand or take it into consideration, he gives it to his wife, who is more constipated in that area than he is, whether she wants to admit it or not.
Oh, that's great.
It's an interesting dynamic they've got going on.
Well, that's with your son right here, which the son is expression, is being able to like be the fullest extent of yourself and its healthiest sense, but it like devolves more into the ego and trying to protect things from getting hurt in like the more negative sense. And
Okay.
it's squaring off against that Saturn energy, which is your dad. So it's almost like you expressing yourself is always met with challenges when it comes to him.
Oh yeah.
So it probably devolves more into a state of protection when you're dealing with him and just protecting like who you are as opposed to like fully actually expressing your truest self.
Yeah, and I yeah, cuz like there are so many things that I want to do and I want to say and I want to like participate in and stuff, but I can't because it if I attempt to do it, it'll devolve into an argument with my dad. And at this point in life, after so many arguments with him about this kind of stuff, I just don't want to deal with it anymore, which is part of the reason why I'm moving out, so I can do it without him standing over my shoulder and telling me that's wrong.
Yeah, there you go. Empowered leaving.
Hey.
But
It's great.
I do have to say though, you have, okay, so I've been kind of like working my way through your Libra stuff, because you do technically have, like, not even technically, you have a Libra stellium, because it's like 3 or more planets, especially personal planets, in a sign. And you have like your personal planets literally over here in Libra. So
Okay.
Libra energy itself is going to be something that comes more naturally to you, especially since you have duplicate houses in it as well. Because when you have an interception, you're going to have duplicate houses. So your stellium and your duplicate houses is Libra energy.
Oh, great.
So Libra energy a lot of times is looked at as the energy of the other, which is like the person that can easily their identity becomes relationships if they're not careful. Which is why I'm pretty sure through your chart, the theme is going to be you needing boundaries with everybody, because you just freely don't give a crap about having them.
Yeah, boundaries are not a. I know boundaries is a huge struggle for me. I am very aware that I struggle very hard with all of my boundaries and like setting boundaries with people. And so half the time I just don't care. I'm like, you know what? Fine, whatever. Do whatever the fuck you want anymore. I don't care.
No, that is not going to be good for your health in any other capacities.
I know it's not, but I just couldn't give any shits anymore.
You
Like,
need
fuck
to
it,
give
whatever.
shits. You need to give shits.
I know, but that's so hard.
Because
It's so hard.
the thing is, your relationships are tied over here, like with a trine to your Mars, also Uranus, but I'm gonna talk about Mars first. So
Okay.
it's happening in a different sign, like a different element. I mean, not sign, of course it's a different sign, but a different element, because usually trines go between similar elements, would be like water to water. But because of your degrees, like where your Mars is, it's actually in Pisces, but it's a very early degree of Pisces. It's at 0. And you have a very late degree Venus in Libra. So you have like a triangle in between water and air. Now, this energy makes it to where like it'd be easier for you. Like it creates a flow when you have relationships that reflect your values, because it helps you actually pull your ambition and your drive and stuff from those relationships. Like it'd be easier for you to actually create that for yourself through actually having good relationships. You'd be better able to have like, you know, the energy, because Mars is also energy, to have all of your like routines and stuff that help you and do the stuff that you want to do and work through stuff, if you actually surrounded yourself with the people that help build you up with that. Because having so much energy reliant, because Libra is relationship energy, it's Venusian energy, and it's the energy of Venus that is like that love relationship type energy. It's not like the Taurus Venusian energy, which is more about comforts and values and, you know, just like it can go straight into hedonism, like on the wrong side, but it's like but it's more the physical aspect, whereas Libra is more of like the relationship love aspect of it.
Okay.
So it can be aesthetics, it can be beautiful things, but it's more of like the other person. So you having all this energy being what you value over here, because it's your second house, which is the house of like, you know, personal values and what you kind of develop as you're growing up. But it's also the house of like how you create income for yourself too. So it's a lot easier for you to focus your income towards other people, which you need to have boundaries so that way you actually keep some for yourself and do right by yourself.
Oh, that is so fucking funny that you say that. Okay, so story time. So my first job that I worked at a haunted house. I was an actor in one of those like Halloween haunted houses
Mm-hmm.
around town. And I like it was that time of year and it was so cold where like I was out there at like 1 a.m. freezing my ass off. Like just no feeling in my fingers and toes and whatnot. um and it got to the point where like I don't know. It was just I came I had a problem. I was in a car accident and then because I was in a car accident, I couldn't go and like participate in the haunted house on a Friday night. And so they were like, "Well, if you don't participate, we have to fire you." I'm like, "Okay, fine. Whatever. I don't want to be part of an organization like that anyways."
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, point is, I got my first paycheck, right? And it was a pretty big paycheck. And I was like 17 years old. So I had no idea how I was supposed to like properly spend money. So what did I do? I donated $500 to a single streamer.
Oh my god.
As my first act with my big paycheck, I donated $500 to a single streamer, and then I donated the rest of the paycheck to other streamers across Twitch. Like, I spent the entire paycheck on other people. It was my first paycheck ever, and I probably used about $50 of it on myself, and that was for gas.
Nice.
Yeah. And I continue to do that. I struggle with keeping my paychecks and spending it like on things that I actually need to do and whatnot. Like I struggle with saving. Saving is a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing is with all this, like you definitely and having the wound around structure and not like really it's almost like it's really off-putting to have the structure because of how you've been dealt structure in your life. Like you're doing
Right.
things to escape a certain structure because you don't like what it does to you. So it's not going to leave a good taste in your mouth for having structure around things. What you have to
Right.
do is learn to rework it in a way where it benefits you so you don't look at it like it's just something that takes from you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like there could be plenty of things where it's like say you have like the thing where you know you need to spend something and the savings you do for yourself is just like that's what I need for bills and then you just do whatever you want with everything else. So your savings is mainly just like I keep my bill money there. It's like
Yeah, I've thought about that before. I'm like, okay, as long as I just set this money aside for for paying off bills and debt and whatnot, I can use the rest of it for whatever I want, but I'm gonna try and save it and then it's gone.
yeah, it's
All of
like
it's just gone.
the best thing to do is start doing things that are small so you can start building trust with yourself because when you really
Mm,
lack structure and boundaries, what happens is it's basically a whole lot of you not trusting yourself to do right by yourself.
gotcha. Yeah, I, I can see that. I struggle so hard. I try so much and then like to like save money and be responsible with my money. And then half the time I'm just like, oh, well, I mean, it's only $5, right? And then next thing I know, I've drained my entire savings account.
Yeah. That's one thing. It's like you gotta be honest with yourself because it's really easy to like make excuses for things when like you have this lack going on in these areas. Like when you have structure, you're gonna it's like being a lot more honest with yourself and knowing that you need this in order to have a more productive and like pleasant life as opposed to feeling like you need to feel hurt from everything you're dealing with.
Gotcha.
Because I know like boundary seems like a big word to like put on things and it might seem like negative to some people, but really all it's doing is making it to where you value what's important to you instead of letting people squash it for like their stuff being more important than what's important to you.
Oh,
And then people that are like
that's
real
an
friends and stuff are going to respect that because they want, you know, you to be happy with what's important to you also.
that is an interesting way to put it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a bad thing. It's not like your boundaries are never you telling somebody else how to be. Like that's like a misconception. Like I feel like a lot of people feel like my boundary is you have to be this way. It's like that's not a boundary. That's like you expecting something out of somebody. What a boundary is you just saying something like, I know that I have trouble with, you know, saving money and I spend things the way I shouldn't. So, hi Queenie. So the best thing to do is be like, okay, with your friends and be like, I have a spending issue. So, like, a boundary that I'm making is for me to get better with spending. So, I'm not going to be going out and doing as much. It's like, it's all about like you doing stuff. That's what a boundary is. And then them respecting it by not pushing you to go out and do things. That's how they respect a boundary.
Gotcha. That actually makes a lot of sense because I think I've always kind of had like a very toxic experience with boundaries. Some of my old friends and my mom's shit.
The yawns.
Ah! My old friends and my mom's like ex-husband especially, like I can see now how like I think I it's where I developed a lot of my unhealthy spending problems.
Mm.
Um okay. That's interesting. Okay. I'll have to keep that in mind. Dude, I'm like taking fucking notes over here. I'm gonna hold people back.
Yeah, that's like a whole thing is like, because I feel like a lot of times, what I mean, I see it a lot where words are just thrown around and no one really explains what the words are and people just use words wrong. They use
Right.
concepts wrong, they use the words wrong. they
What?
don't they don't really like, you know, explain anything either because they don't want to like look stupid for using a word wrong forever, so they just keep using it wrong. It's like, oh my god. But that's what I feel is like the concept of boundaries has been like really misconstrued into something where people are like, you're overstepping my boundaries, and they're using it as a way to tell people how other people are supposed to be around them. And it's like,
Mm,
no, all boundaries are is you say like something, a boundary can be you being uncomfortable. And then like you tell someone that something makes you uncomfortable. And then if that person respects you, they respect the fact that they don't want you to be uncomfortable. That's it. Now, if they don't respect that, that's when you decide, okay, then I don't think this is a good friendship.
gotcha.
Because it's like it's overstepped, and then it's like they're not respecting the fact that you're uncomfortable. It's not like you're telling the person to change. You're just saying, please respect this part of me. And if they can't respect it, then that shows you that's not a relationship you should keep around. That's literally all they're for. That's what boundaries are for, is to help you understand what's good to keep around you and what isn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much how people treat boundaries, is like rules you get to impose on other people. And that's not what they are. Boundaries are supposed to be rules you're imposing on yourself to keep yourself healthy, because you know yourself better than anyone. And if people push over
Right.
those, that's how you know, hey, this person, just like anything that wouldn't be good for you that you're putting in your own body, isn't good for me. That's literally what it is.
That's good to keep in mind because that actually makes a lot like I don't I think my whole family is just we all have a huge problem with boundaries.
Yeah, it
Like
can
not
very
like
much
all of
be a
us.
learned behavior. And having, the thing is, Virgo rising, Virgo is the sign of you know, it's being meticulous and like detail oriented and stuff. It's a sign of like health and all that stuff, but it's also of being service to other people. And
Mm,
having that like on yourself, like I have a Virgo moon, which like emotionally I feel better being of service to other people, but that doesn't make for good boundaries. It makes for you getting walked on and used very easily. So like having that as like a thing when people meet you, and like having that kind of energy where it's like, you know, I want to be very helpful, some people can just come and take advantage of that.
Right.
So it's really important to like have certain boundaries where you're able to say like, I know past a certain extent, like I will easily be used by people. So it's like you have a boundary with yourself where it's like, I know past this extent someone is using me, and I need to like have a boundary where like, you know, I tell friends ahead of time that like this is something I'm not okay with. And if they respect me, they just won't do it because, you know, it's pushing past something that makes me uncomfortable. But if they do it, then I know they're just trying to do that on purpose. It's like kind of like a thing to let yourself know.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was saying, like, you know, how earlier you were like, you know, I just stopped caring. The right people, if you tell them that certain things aren't good for you and you're not trying to do certain things, they're not going to push it because they're going to respect it. Like, they will value your values.
Mhm.
So, as much
I
as losing some people that kind of suck can be, especially if they've been around for a while, it will be better off to clear them out and make room for people that will actually respect you having better boundaries.
right. Oh my god, I live in such a toxic family. I'm not even joking. I can only think of one family member who's ever like truly respected my boundaries like that.
Yeah. A lot of times, the family that we're born with, it doesn't give us what we need, it just gives us lessons.
Fair enough.
And so it's like we kind of learn from a
I,
young age, I don't want to
the,
do that. That's why you hear like a lot of people saying I don't want to be like my parents, is because it's pretty much you're given this blueprint of like I don't want to do that.
shit, man. I also should probably try and find friends IRL. All of my friends are online.
That doesn't necessarily it's not necessarily a bad thing,
Well, like
because it's like for
with
some
me.
people it's definitely good to have like people in person you can be around, especially if you
Mhm.
have energy to get out and you want to explore and do things. But for some people, having it on the internet is actually good because then you have time for yourself, which makes it a little easier for you to create boundaries with internet friends.
True.
So it's like a good learning curve, because when you're in person and someone just shows up, it's a lot harder than being like, yo, like, nah, not today.
Nah, I don't want to do that today. I can see that. I I think I definitely like online I'm much more assertive with like setting boundaries for certain things and like being like, "Hey, don't talk about this, don't mention this," that kind of stuff that like that just doesn't make me comfortable. Like I'm much better about telling people online than I am in person, which I think is where a lot of my issues come from, especially because I've got a family member um who I'm in very close contact with right now who just doesn't know how to respect other people's boundaries.
Yeah, and you have to be careful with that because it's really easy when it's like family to keep like giving leeway with it. But the thing is, as much as like you might feel bad, one thing to remember is you're not helping them either.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times it's like you're thinking, well, I'm helping the person. No, you're not. You're teaching them that it's okay to be codependent on someone, not respect boundaries, and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because eventually it'll be a yes. That's what you're teaching people when you do that.
Gotcha.
And if they bring that into other relationships, if they come across people that do have boundaries, they're going to keep losing those people and not understanding why, because they never learned.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Hmm.
And then they'll keep saying they don't know. They'll either spin it two ways. They'll be like, I don't know what's wrong with me, or it's going to be like everyone else is assholes. It's like it's gonna be one way or the other.
I can my I can see this family member, she thinks that everyone else is out to get her.
Yeah.
Like, she lost contact with her dad and her brother because she's just a narcissist.
Yes, and narcissists really love just to pull on people that let them do it. And they're not gonna learn. Like, if it's true narcissism, they're not gonna learn, and it's a mental thing, and she needs to go actually get help for it. Like, if it's true narcissism, if she has narcissistic tendencies, then the only way she's gonna learn is by people pulling away and her having to do some soul searching on her own. She's not gonna learn if people keep giving into it.
That's the thing, though, is that, like, I don't know. It's a tricky situation because, anyways, I'm just gonna reiterate the fact that I'm excited to move.
Yeah, if it's like you needing to get away from a place physically to be away from it, then definitely removing yourself. Like, and that's another thing too, is that something as simple as putting physical distance is a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, people that are used to pushing boundaries, if you create physical distance and then they like still try to like interact or show up and stuff, like that's a boundary that you can put up and say, like, you know, this is my space, and something that you can learn physically with someone showing up. And if they don't respect that, it's like, yeah, you shouldn't be coming around me.
Yeah.
It's like, don't show up unannounced. This is my place. This isn't our place.
Right. And it helps that I have a roommate too, because that means that none of them can just like show up, because I'd need to get my roommate's permission for them to come around.
You would think that.
Yeah.
You
Knowing
would
them
hope.
though, they're probably just gonna show up, be like, "Hey, we're having a barbecue tonight." I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like when it comes to that, it's like it becomes a lot more about putting up the boundary instead of just saying like, okay, I'll just roll with it, whatever. It's really hard, but once you start doing it, it gets easier. Because then you're like,
Gotcha.
okay, like I feel better when people actually respect me instead of like rolling over me, and then it just becomes easier. And it gives you a lot more peace of mind. Because it's not like you're doing anything mean. You're literally just saying, hey, this is for my health. If you can't respect that, then, you know, we need distance between us. Some
Right.
people, distance, it's fine. Like, you know, some people just need physical distance and they're a little better like with texting or something. Some people need time distance where it's like you like take a break from them for a while and then come back to them. You know, everyone's different. But it's
Right.
like deciding on that, and some people it's just no contact.
Just don't talk to me, please.
Yeah, exactly, because they're just not gonna learn and they're gonna keep pushing no matter what. It's like, nope, you need to learn without me.
Right. All right. Well, that's good to keep in mind. I think I have a few people I need to tell to go fuck off.
And the
It's been a
thing,
long time coming anyways. I'm getting sick of their shit, so.
well, to be honest, that makes sense. Because you have the same Mars as Shin does, where it's like it's like Mars and Pisces energy, which means that your anger takes a long, long, long time to actually show at the surface, if it ever shows at all.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like you'll just keep diluting it and watering it down.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, this is another opposition you have, but this is to like your, like, what people see. So you wanting to like show different aspects of yourself becomes in direct opposition to the energy you have to do it. Which is probably
Oh.
why the first impression sticks with people so much, is because having the energy to change someone's mind of this impression just like feels like you're fighting uphill battles with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's funny you say that, because in middle school, halfway through my 6th grade year, I had to move. I moved cities completely, so I was like, I moved an hour away from where I was originally living, and everybody, for whatever reason, I don't know what I did or what I said, but I gave them apparently a very bad um like first impression of me. And no matter what I did, it always come back to, oh, it's Nyx, the over dramatizer. Or oh, it's Nyx, she's got a stick so far up his ass that he doesn't do anything with anybody. Like that's my problem. Because and then it caused me to like pull away from people. And then unfortunately when I met new people, that's the like vibe that they got, was that I was just the loner. Like I was the kid in the cafeteria in high school that would sit in the corner by themselves on their phone or the Chromebook, working as hard as they can and looking like I have resting bitch face like crazy.
You can thank your Virgo rising for that.
Oh, thanks, Virgo. I like there's a like every time I get asked all the time, why are you mad? Why are you upset? I'm like, I'm not. I'm getting upset because you're accusing me of being upset, but I'm not. I'm literally just sitting here. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want from me? I think it's another reason why I went into VTubing, because I was originally a face streamer, but then I was like, everybody all the time would ask me, "What's the matter, Nyx? What's the matter, Nyx?" I'm like, "There's nothing wrong. I'm just sitting here.
I'm just vibing.
I just vibing, man. I didn't say or do anything. Nothing's the matter."
I'm existing.
I mean, half the time I don't even know.
Yeah, Striker gets the same thing. Everyone thinks he's Angie, you're gonna beat them up just because he's existing.
Hey. Yeah, well, and I'm pretty strong too. I'm very short, but very strong, and like I've got more weight than most would think. And so I can throw it around nice. And so people are scared of me because I just like at work I literally have to like hurt my cheeks to smile all the time just to make it look like I'm like not angry.
Oh my
Because I work
lord.
in customer service.
Yeah.
My boss, he literally had to pull me aside like my first week and was like, "Hey, I know this is a new thing and I know you're stressed, but if you could just smile more." I'm like, "I am smiling."
I am smiling.
It doesn't look like you're smiling. Okay, fine. Let me just hurt my cheeks every single time for 4 hours every day.
Oh my god. Yeah. That's it's honestly not your fault. It's just being born that way, and the people don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, and I try to explain. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm not mad. I just have resting bitch face. And they're like, but you seem angry and mad. I'm like, but I'm not. You'll know when I'm mad, and I'm not mad.
Yeah, the fact that you have that Mars there in Pisces, it's like, yeah, you're not really gonna be mad that often.
No. No, I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm hurt and sad sometimes, but mad? I don't get mad often. There's only a
Yeah.
few instances in my life I can think of where I was like truly angry or mad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna come
And
up as easy, and the fact that, you have that, like, it's frustrating, but even that's not making you mad, it's more frustrated.
yeah. Yeah, I get very frustrated and upset, but I don't get mad.
Oh, and
And
another thing too is that, okay, you know how you have like the pointy green triangle that I told you is your yod, that finger of destiny thing pointing at your Neptune?
yeah.
You have another green leg. It's missing a counterpart, but it's okay. It still has some energy. These green legs are called inconjuncts,
Okay.
and they carry their own energy. I like to kind of yeah, he has Scorpio anger energy. So Striker has. But
Scorpio.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he has that brooding anger that, like, just don't push him that way.
Right.
But
And then me over here, just no Angie ever.
no, I mean, it's there, but it really has to be pulled out, and it probably
You
be
have to
more of a
really
it'd be
piss
more
me
of an
off.
it'd be more of an emotional outburst type angry.
Mm.
as opposed to like trying to throw hands.
Trying to throw
But you have an inconjunct between your Mercury and your Mars. Now, the way I kind of explain inconjunct energy, because it's about like it makes you like go head on into something, but then you also pull away from it. So it really makes me think of like those things, the finger trap things, those little finger toys where you put your
Oh
fingers in,
yeah.
and the more you try to pull, the more you can't get it out. It's like that kind of energy. So it's
Yeah.
like there's like this release and capture kind of energy to it, and it's like a push and pull.
Okay.
So you have that going between your Mars and your Mercury. So there's always going to be like this thing where it's like kind of like an internal struggle between like having the energy to communicate what you need to communicate, especially when it comes to something that's really important to you. It's like you're simultaneously like really feeling like you need to do it, but then running from it. And it's like just this intrinsic thing like inside of you that like probably burns you out like nothing else. Like just trying to express something, whether verbally or through like writing, that really has to do with core values of yours, or like dealing with money, which is probably why you throw it away so easily. But
Yeah.
it's like having like things around those themes, it just makes you feel like, okay, this isn't good for my health, I'm not dealing with this right now. So it's like
Yeah.
you bury it instead, which isn't good for your health. It creates like this crux that you're having to deal with, that it's like by running away from dealing with this, you actually create more problems for yourself, especially when dealing with coworkers.
Oh, gotcha. I got
So
someone fired once.
you, I guess you finally spoke your mind.
I did. Well, no, I didn't. I spoke my mind to one of my other coworkers, and they told the boss. And then the boss came to me and was like, "Hey, can you just tell me what the fuck is going on?" I'm like, "Okay, this is what's going on." And then they got fired.
There you go. The small
Well,
instance where you speak your mind, something immediately happens, and you're like, I don't know if I should do this.
yeah, I mean, and I've been told a lot. My boss mentioned this all the time. Like he's noticed, and I've noticed. I've been starting to notice too because I've been trying to be like more like like I don't know, aware of my impact on people. My
Mm,
words carry a lot.
yeah, because your
Like
words
when I
create action is basically what happens here with this inconjunct.
yeah, my when I say something, like that is that, right? Like it's like I carry a lot of weight in my words, and when I say something, people listen. And it's hard because I don't want to say the wrong thing and then fuck something up for someone or get someone in trouble or hurt.
Mm,
And so I just half the time I just don't say anything at all.
yeah, that's that fight between it. And it's just gonna be there. It's like that energy is gonna be there of you like having to make decisions of to like let yourself do it or like holding back.
Mhm.
It's a lot of judgment calls with it. But the thing is, what's gonna help with that is you not being so averse to structure and boundaries.
Right.
Because like with those, it's like you keep yourself accountable and honest. So you'll know that decisions that you're making when it comes to like things you want to communicate, whether it can change things or not, you'll know you're doing it for the right reason instead of doing it like out of like, what's a good word? It's the word. Where'd it go? I keep wanting to say impromptu, but it's not impromptu. It's just like um it's not like you're doing things randomly. It's like you're doing it with purpose. And that's what
Right.
structure kind of brings to things, is you're doing things with purpose as opposed to just kind of going about it haphazardly.
Gotcha.
So you won't be second guessing yourself or trying to like run from things that you know you should be saying, because you'll be like, hey, I've been holding myself accountable, so I know saying this is the right thing.
Right. Okay.
Now, one thing I also want to bring up too, because you know how we've been talking about you know, a lot of stuff with how you like put your identity into relationships and stuff. You
Stop it. Lay down. Sorry, doggo intermission. Lay down. Lay down, please. Hi, sir. Okay, fine. Sorry, keep going.
it's okay. But your seventh house is ruled by Pisces energy. And like, you know, that's where your moon is that I told you. But having your seventh house ruled by Pisces energy means that your relationships are gonna have a Pisces theme to them, which, you know, both good and like every sign has energy that's good and bad. Pisces energy
Right.
can be very dreamy, which means you can get into relationships that seem like very dreamlike. It's like, hey, this is like a dream come true. This is great. And it starts out with that very rose colored glasses, very like unconditional love kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, these relationships, you know, if they, which, you know, you've been telling me you lack structure, these kind of relationships really need structure in order for them to be stable. If you lack structure in these relationships, what they turn into is escapism and a way to get away from things that you need to do.
Right.
And it can also turn into finding people that are prone to escapism instead of working on their problems. And then just shoving their problems onto you instead of actually doing something with it. It can create a lot of codependent energy. And that's why it's really
Gotcha.
important to have that structure and those boundaries, because you can find a very loving partner and someone that really like wants to understand you on a very deep subconscious level, but then at the same time their lack of boundaries makes it to where there is no separation between the two. So it's almost like, how can I put this? It's like they won't have an identity that's not the relationship, and the same thing can happen to you.
Okay.
So it's really important to have identities outside of the relationship and realize that that's healthy too.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, I can see why a lot of my uh relationships with past boyfriends have probably failed. That and just they have no respect and talking about like what we are and aren't comfortable with and that kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff.
That's the lack
I
of
like to
boundaries thing.
yeah, I mean with with my I mean romantic relationships, I'm very picky about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually am like, "Hey, this is what I expect. This is what it's going to look like is like this is what it needs to be, right?" Like but at the same time like I'm also willing to compromise and like I think we should just I always like starting a relationship with like sitting down and talking about what exactly we want slash need out of this and how can we work together to make this thrive. And I've lost many a boyfriend because of it.
I think the better way to go about it for you would be to talk about non-negotiables,
Okay.
because you can sit and talk with someone about what you want out of a relationship, what you want out of like the future to look like, blah blah blah. Like there's a Pisces energy is very daydreamy, but you have to be practical, and which is going to be hard because Pisces energy isn't like extremely practical. You need stuff to balance it out. So it's like you need to be practical in the relationship and go, okay, we're getting into a relationship. My non-negotiable is me paying for everything. Like
Right.
it's like things like that, just being like like complete, like to the plate, like this is a complete non-negotiable. Like how people say cheating is a non-negotiable, that kind of thing. You know, having certain things where it's like, you know, you cross this line, then we're just not going to work and I'm not going to compromise it. That shows like you will find someone who is compatible to your non-negotiables. That's it's like there's billions of freaking people in the world. You're going to find somebody that can like get along with your non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Everything else that's not a non-negotiable is fine with like working through compromise and going through hardships together. That's how relationships are. But if you have someone that's like, you know what, no, I'm not okay with the fact that your non-negotiable is like you not paying for everything. I'm not okay with an even split. You have to pay for everything for me. That it's like, you know, I'm using that as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when you have someone like that, if they're going to disrespect a non-negotiable, then that means they'll disrespect everything.
Gotcha.
Like it takes so little respect to be like, okay, this person doesn't like being pushed past this point, so I'm not going to do that. And if a person can't do that, then they're going to do that in all other areas and see how far they can take it. It's just how personalities are.
Mm.
That's why it's better to start with, you know, what you're absolutely not okay with, as opposed to like, this is what I would like to see happen. Because,
Okay.
you know, that's very dreamy. It's, you know, great to have, you know, the energy of like looking forward to things. But if a person doesn't know like what is and isn't okay, you're gonna end up eventually either breaking it off with that person, or the person's gonna break it off with you when certain lines keep getting crossed over and over again and they were never talked about.
That is good to know. All right. Well, I have a conversation to have with my boyfriend.
Yes, you should always.
Um,
Open communication is super important.
I will. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I feel that that's definitely. I think that's part of the reason why I had so many failed relationships was that we never, or like, boundaries were constantly crossed. And so, or part of it I think also is like I feel like they were threatened, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know why, but one of them in particular I'm thinking of, they felt like they were threatened by me, and I don't know
Like,
how to deal with it.
like threatened in like they felt like you were threatening to them, or like in the sense
Mm,
of like your presence was something they couldn't deal with because they had issues that they weren't dealing with.
that one.
Because that's on them. And yes, that does
Yeah.
happen with Pisces energy where people will project onto you.
Great.
So people you meet, it's like they'll have problems and then they'll
Hmm.
project them onto you and say that it's you that's causing it when really they have issues and they need
Right.
to deal with their issues, and they hopefully eventually they will. I don't want to say they never will because I want to have optimism, but hopefully they will.
Right.
But it can
Who
be very
knows?
delusional energy. That's why I'm saying like it's better to have very practical discussion,
Hmm.
because it could be very delusional and it can lead to just complete lack of boundary and just, you know, letting things free float. That's why it's like really
Gotcha.
important to just, you know, have structure and have like the very like foundation laid. And if non-negotiable can be that foundation, then you can build up from it and have all the pretty stuff on top of it. Great. Oh,
Mm.
thank you for the raid. I appreciate it.
Hi, Raiders. Oh,
So, since since we know that with relationships, one thing I do want to say, do you like going by oh why you play that sound? It's like it just scares me. Why did I even put that on my freaking thing? Every time that thing scares me and I don't okay, anime wow. Yes, we'll do the wow instead.
wow.
But every time that thing scares me and I don't understand why. But another thing I want to bring up with relationships, which, you know, I already told you about the whole thing with how your mom really feels she needs to be involved in things.
Yeah.
Have a great lunch, hon.
Enjoy your
So,
num nums.
with the fourth house here, right? You have
Okay.
Pluto in here. Pluto
Okay.
likes to create a lot of things. likes to create a lot of change wherever it is. Fourth house is the home. It is, you know, family life. It's like your roots, things like that. And it's also like, you know, currently where you like find home, that kind of thing. Having Pluto there, it's just like, it likes putting you through a lot of painful changes. It's like, if
Yay!
it's just helping you grow there. Now, the thing you have here is you have your mom making a square. That's your mom. You have your moon, which is your mom, making a square to this energy. So it's like this challenge you have with a lot of this painful stuff is this connection it has to your mom. And
Mm-hmm.
then the fact that your mom tries to put herself in your relationships. So it's almost like this pain that you dealt with, you know, because it's your dad's very far removed from this. He's like all the way over here.
I'm not surprised. Dude, he's always
just,
very far removed from everything.
he's just far.
Dude, he's off in the stars killing fake space dust that he sees in his imagination. I'm not surprised he's gone.
I mean,
He
that's
left
pretty
a
much
long
what's
time
happening.
ago.
He's like really
He
far
checked out a
removed. The
while
thing
ago.
that all these things that teach you like painful like truths about yourself, the things that help you like learn and grow, all these lessons and stuff, he's far removed from it. Like he might be the source of some of the pain, but he's not actively involved in helping you get through any of it.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Now, your
Not at all.
mom, she is actively involved in some of it, but not in the way that's very helpful to you because it creates a lot of how can I put this? It's like she creates more challenges by interjecting herself into it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she wants to be helpful, she really wants to be there and understand you, but her presence in it creates more things you're having to work through. It's almost like
Mm,
her saying, I'm here and I understand you, creates more issues than her giving you the
gotcha.
space to just process it on your own. Now,
Oh.
you have your
Yeah.
sun, which is, you know, how you express yourself, making a sextile to this Pluto. Now, this makes it to where you have some opportunities to express these events. I almost said traumatizing events, but I mean, you know, if you want to. But it's like you're given opportunities to really talk about these things because it's helping you shape your values. That's what all these are for, is you shaping your values and what's important to you. That's what it's in this place for. It might suck,
Okay.
and a lot of the stuff in your home life might create like a lot of painful change, but it's also you can actually be able to express yourself and what's really important to you. Otherwise, it's like what it's doing is just making a lot of challenging aspects to you, you know, when people first meet you. It's like this freaking like tearing a nail off your finger kind of thing because it's like that's not me. And it like gets
Okay.
and it gets very irritating, and that's the thing you've been talking about. Like Pluto's what's been doing that to you. It's like
Gotcha.
when it moves you to a new home and then your new first impression is nothing but challenges, that's what it's doing for you.
Mm. Well, hopefully this move will be a lot more positive than the last couple ones, because the last couple ones have been out of duress, right? Like I had to move because something was happening, right?
Mm.
And
This
yeah,
one's
I
more of an
can.
empowered choice.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing with Pluto is like it as much as it causes all this stuff, it wants to empower you to make
Right.
changes instead of you just like letting things happen to you. It wants you to get the strength to do it yourself. So that
Mm.
is definitely a lesson, even though you're moving. I can see your mom is still probably going to create challenges with trying to be involved, even though you're moving. So
Oh,
that's
she already has. There's already been some contention points about where I was supposed to move originally. Like, she wanted me to move, so she lives in a different state, right? She when I was originally looking into moving and getting out of there, she's like, "You should move in with me." Right?
mm,
And then she would continuously try and like bribe me to move in with her and to move states to move in with her. I'm like, I don't want to do
Yeah, that's
that.
something that I have noticed with Pisces moon people, like how you have Pisces moon, is that
Mm,
the mom can be like, even if you're trying to get away, overly suffocating.
yes.
And they think it's like they're doing it for your good, but if anything, they're creating codependency on them. And for some people that
Yeah.
choose to not leave and choose to like just stay there, all it does is they just get so codependent on the mom that they become freaking adult toddlers. So,
Right.
like, I've seen that firsthand.
Fair enough. And I can totally see that. I can see how that could have happened. But thankfully I'm able to like remove myself from the situation.
Telling you, the yawns are crazy. I told you,
Oh my
once I
god.
start talking, the yawns will go away, but I'm sorry that they passed to you.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, well, we can't. They're like, I want to keep streaming," but you're like, "Oh no, 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 no! I've got to keep talking about this. I'm gonna be energetic now." And they're like, Nixie's not looking like she's doing anything."
Yeah, it's something like once I start talking about this, my brain wakes up and it
Yeah,
like it works.
fair
Now,
enough. Even if I'm talking about something I'm super energetic about, half the time I'm yawning.
Now, another thing I do want to say though is you have your Pluto in Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy is known for like its ninth house energy. It's that traveling energy, being
Mm-hmm.
able to like explore things, learn. It's also like higher education, things like that. But it's like doing like taking the risks. You having your Pluto here kind of shows that eventually you were going to take a risk on your own in order to have like better growth than just the, being shoved around by like, what was going on in your house. So
Yeah.
you making that decision is actually like, on track to your growth. If you would have decided to go back with mom, that would have just been a whole bunch of challenging stuff until you finally went on your own anyways. You making that decision to like do your stuff on your own is the right thing, because that's how you're actually going to get a healthier form of growth, as opposed to like the suffocating, even though, could be from good intentions, that it can be very codependent with this
Mm.
kind of energy where the mom is like feeling like she needs to be there and be emotionally available and understanding of everything. It's like that
Yeah.
can sound good, but at the same time, if there's no boundaries and she doesn't know how to leave you to your own to learn things, that can just smother every ounce of wanting to learn on your own, any motivation you have to do anything out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
already need motivation over here because of this Pisces Mars you have. You already struggle with trying to get that anyways. You don't need someone smushing it out of you.
Right. I can see that.
Now,
I
another
never
thing. Yes? What?
nothing. It's just it's kind of like a lot of it's making sense. And like in ways that I can't explain, like a
Well,
lot
it's
of
like puzzle piece. It's like you always had the puzzle pieces and then they click into place, and it's like, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I love when that happens. And I'm just sitting there like, why didn't I
Great.
understand that before?
Sorry, I'm also eating peanut butter toast because
I
I
was
haven't
about to
eaten
start talking
lunch.
about this Taurus up here, so yeah, food.
Oh, great. Go for it.
Now, I was gonna talk about your North Node up here
Okay.
because you have it in Taurus. This is your interception. Now, you having a North Node in intercepted energy is it kind of like an annoying thing. Light has the same thing and it's in her 12th house.
Okay.
And I like poking fun at her with her thing. But it's like you having this intercepted energy is basically like when people say like they don't understand something and they've never really grasped it, is pretty much an interception, because you have to
Okay.
like learn it from people around you because you're not really born with it like existing with you.
Gotcha.
Now, you also have your North Node, which is like this thing pulling you towards this energy you don't have on your own. It's like your North Node is pretty much like you feel like it's like your purpose or like what you're
Mm,
supposed to do, what would make you happiest. But it also, too much of it, it's like that saying of too much of a good thing.
right.
So it's like too much of something can be your undoing. So the fact that you don't really understand this energy on your own, you wouldn't understand yourself being undone by it in the first place. Because
Okay.
it's like you wouldn't even know that you're doing it. Which,
Oh.
for you, this North Node is like, Taurus energy is all about comfort. It's about, it's Venusian, like your Libra energy. So you have an energy that's kind of similar to the energy you don't have with having so much Libra energy because it's Venusian also. But it's like I said before, it's a different type of it. Instead of Taurus being like relationship like how Libra is with that love energy, it's more about loving the finer things in life, the physical things. It's about indulging in the physical things and having value in
Oh.
yourself, because it's not like just having like wanting high value things. It's about having that high value for yourself and not settling for less. That's why you have this
Mm,
pull towards it because, obviously you need structure and boundaries in order to be able to fully say that I have high value on myself.
right.
So that's kind of what you're aiming towards, even though you actively don't want to go towards it too much because you don't want to be only about yourself. Because obviously, like your North Node pulling you towards like having so much value on yourself that you don't value other things would be bad. But
Right.
the reason you're pulled so hard towards this is because you really lack that value of self everywhere else. So it would
Hmm.
actually bring happiness to have that structure and value of self, since you just don't understand how to do it at all.
Yeah, that I've always struggled with having like a healthy view of like self-care and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm I've never really been able to understand like the balance, if that makes sense. Because
Mm-hmm.
in elementary school, I was really self-centered and like all about me and all about like it was everything was the Nixie show, right? Like it was you're living in Nix's world, right? And then I had something happen to me that kind of gave me like a wake up call to it,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't and unfortunately because of it, and I know that I still have this energy, like I know that I'm missing it, but I don't know how to fill it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm very self-sacrificial now.
Yeah, so you went the
Like
complete
I'm
other way.
yeah, because I just don't know how to find that balance.
This is what I was talking about earlier with you finding the people, the right people that can
Mhm.
help you with this. Because a lot of stuff with interceptions is being able to make connections with people that can teach you a healthy balance since it's not innate in yourself. Like,
Right.
there are some people you can tell, okay, you need to practice, self love and taking care of yourself. And they be like, okay, I'll do that then. And then, they do better. Like, there's some people you tell that and it's just like a foreign language to them. That is pretty much what
Right.
this is. Now, you also have it in your like ninth and third houses. This is where this interception is. The third house is, it can be siblings for some people. It's also content creation, writing, um it's communication. It's also short term travel, like, just it can be like your commute to work, things like that. But it's like this house has a lot to do with what you develop, like interpersonal between people, like how you communicate between people.
Okay.
So having an interception in there, and it's Scorpio energy that's intercepted, which would be your ability to be like deeply connected, because Scorpio energy is like a very like deep resonating energy. It's Pluto energy. It's like really transformative. It makes you learn lessons. So
Okay.
having that intercepted, it's like it's a really hard time creating those interpersonal connections that are very deep and profound with people. So it's almost like this struggle to go below surface with people.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So that's how that shows up on that side. And it does something different over here.
Okay.
So for the ninth house is Taurus, which I was saying your north node's up there, which is like pulling you to want to do that stuff, right?
Right.
Ninth house is long distance travel. It's foreign travel. It's like going overseas, doing some big trips and stuff, right? But it's also like your spirituality, your religion, your beliefs in that area. It's also higher learning with like going to school and things of that nature, like learning different trades. And it's also like you learning about the world and expanding your worldview.
Okay.
It's really like, instead of it being like really close intrapersonal, it's like big picture, like what you bring in and learn from that. And having Taurus intercepted is like really lacking the ability to see the value in those things and to find the valuable part of those things and actually like bring them into your life and cultivate a good how can I put this? It's like a good foundation. There's the word. A good foundation that can like create broader horizons instead of you just being kind of closed off in what you understand about like people as well as the world. So
that makes a lot of sense.
it's like everything's just making sense. Like I lack in
Well,
this
no,
area.
because you want to know what's really funny is I didn't finish my 8th grade year in middle school. Didn't finish it. I still went into high school. And guess what? I dropped out of high school too. And I still have my GED. Like, I just didn't do school. I hated it. I hate school. I hate going to classes. I hate listening to teachers. I just can't. It's so useless. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. Like, and that's not to say don't go to school. If you, like, go to school, continue your learning, like, do what I say, not as I do. like, I personally was failing. I was going to be worse off if I'd stayed in school than if I hadn't just dropped out and got my GED. I
So
just
so that
didn't.
lack of seeing value in it literally translated into you physically not doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me too. Is like if I don't have interest in it, I'm not gonna do it. I don't care. I don't care enough. If it doesn't pique my interest, or I don't think I can get like value out of it, I just won't do it because it's just, in my opinion, a waste of time.
I see. So basically, in order for you to reach this thing of self-actualization, you're gonna have to find people that have, now, not saying that they push these values on you, but you're gonna have to find people who have values that are a little opposite to you so you can kind of learn through them why they would find it valuable. Because
Right.
this is why, and like this is a good way of showing like how intercepted energy just shows up and how you like would learn it better from other people instead of doing it yourself. If you see no value in education, you're gonna have to find someone that really does see the value in it and kind of learn through them why they do. It's the same way for like having value in like wanting to like do a bunch of traveling. Like maybe you're sitting here like, why would someone want to have a nomad lifestyle? You know, that kind of thing. Like not really understanding why you would never want to have a place that you can just call home. But
Right.
it's like you're not able to understand these views and find the value in it if it's so opposite your own. Like you don't have that big picture button that you can just press and understand it.
Right.
So it's like, if anything, you look at it, because your ninth house is ruled by Aries, you'll look at it, and if you don't understand it, you move on.
Mm,
Instead of like
yeah.
trying to find the value in it, which would be that Taurus energy, you just go, don't understand it, and then you move on.
Yep.
So
That sounds about right.
so it's like you can't really enrich yourself and grow as a person if you keep doing that. And that's why it's so important to find the people that like make it interesting for you. that make you want to go, hey, I want to learn more about this. Because for you, your houses that help you learn things have these interceptions that take the value and the deep, like, personal level out of things. So you can't really connect to it on a level that's like deeper than it being shallow.
Right.
So for you, the people that get really excited about things and have like a really deep connection to something seem very foreign to you.
Yeah.
Because you're like, how can you be obsessed over something? That does not make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm the thing is, yeah, yeah, that I yes.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Like it makes a lot of sense. And I know that like that's kind of what I've been saying. Like you could probably watch back and be like, "Oh, what is the one thing that yes, it makes a lot of sense." Like it's just I don't understand it half the time. Like I don't understand what the big whoop is, right? Like people are like freaking out over this thing. I'm like, but why? Right? Like it's doesn't
Yeah, and it's not like, see, there's some people that say that just to antagonize people because they know
right,
it,
but
like,
I
it
don't
upsets
mean to
them.
antagonize
Like, you're
anyone.
not actually antagonizing. You're literally like in this place of really not understanding things because you don't have the value and the depth in these areas to really be like, I can pull from this and learn from it. And I can see why someone would be like really obsessed with it and things like that. It's like you don't have the attachment to
Right.
it because these signs are all about being attached to things. This is earthly things with Taurus, like having the attachment to like earthly things and having the
Mhm.
attachment to the deep psychological things with Scorpio. So it's like having those things intercepted is kind of like I can't get it. And you have it in your learning houses, like how you learn things and how you communicate things, how you pick things up and carry them through life. So it's like I don't pick them up and carry them. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's happening. So
Yeah.
you need people that you feel very close to and that you trust, that you kind of like can glimpse it from them. You can glimpse from their excitement, you can glimpse from their sadness, like things like that. Just how deep these things go to like create an understanding of it so you can see like, okay, maybe I do want to do this. It didn't seem like I did, but I want to give it a shot because this person is showing me just how great it can be.
Right. That actually makes a lot of like sense in terms of like the things of what I've done, especially recently, because there's a lot of steps that I've started, a lot of things that I've started and that I'm working on that I like didn't care about or can't really like find the will to care about, but because I've seen someone else be excited about it and like look forward to it, I'm like starting and slowly to understand like looking forward to it and seeing like the value in it. And I can think of a couple of projects that I've been working on recently that like yeah, the only reason I started those projects or the only reason I'm so passionately working on those projects is because someone else is doing it too.
Yeah, it's don't feel like that's like not the right thing for you to be doing because it is. That's literally how you're going to pick stuff up and do it. I know for some people it's going to be like, but you should like do things of your own volition and things like that. Everyone's wired differently.
Mhm.
Some people naturally will not be okay with doing something if someone else is doing it because that's how they're wired.
Right.
Some people, the only way they can get excited is seeing someone else do it so that they can try it. Like you have that kind of energy and like learning to find the value in these things. And then once you find the value, being able to in turn make that, your value
Right.
instead of feeling like you don't have any, like it's this foreign concept.
Gotcha. That's good to keep in mind.
Now, probably
Yawns.
unless something else pops up in my head, one of the last things I'm gonna talk about before the transit kind of thing that I've been giving everybody before
Yeah.
they leave. Just a little look ahead. But one of the other things I'm going to talk about is your midheaven,
Okay.
which, as I've been telling everyone, that's like your online persona. That's your reputation. If you are, especially if like you do like online content creation, midheaven is going to be your online persona. It's how the public perceives you. It's how your
Okay.
following perceives you, your community, all that stuff. Now, if you're not online and like you work more like office or something like that, it's going to be your reputation you have in the office, you know, that kind of thing. It's like the career you take and the reputation you have in that career. If you don't have a career,
Right.
like you're a homemaker, it's your reputation as a mom or as a dad if you're at home. It's like
Right.
it's literally it follows you wherever you are. And it's what people think outside of you. It's like you can't really like obviously stuff you do can affect it, but it's like people are going to have their own perception of you.
Right.
So you have yours in Gemini, which is a pretty interesting energy to have as a midheaven because it's Gemini always is changing
Huh.
because its interests change all the time because it's trying to learn and accumulate things. It picks things up, it finds it interesting, it's going to do it. If it gets bored with it, it's going to drop it. That's literally the midheaven that just keeps changing over time. It's not one of those things where you see a person and they're the same thing forever.
Right.
This is one of those things that you'll be lucky if a few months it stays the same. Now,
Okay.
the community that you build is going to understand this and welcome it because the people that are drawn to you that like this about you, they're going to be like, oh, there's another change again. And it's going to be like an exciting thing. Whether it's
Hmm.
changing your content, whether it's changing your persona, whether it's changing the groups you're around, whatever it is, there's always going to be change and excitement and something that's different because Gemini's like that breath of fresh air where things just keep happening.
Right.
But it's also got to be something that's entertaining because Gemini is the sign of like, don't bore me.
Right.
And it's also the sign of doing things with your hands. So it could be like getting into things like, you know, how some VTubers have the hand cams
Yeah.
and like making stuff and doing that. That would be something that's like getting into like a lot of different projects where people can see hand cam type things.
Okay.
But Gemini is also it's an energy. It's seen as a masculine energy, but a lot of times it's not really seen as having an energy to it. It's just defined as a masculine energy. So a lot of times
Mm,
people don't really know what what it is. They don't know what the Gemini energy is. So it
what
can
is
be
that creature?
so it can be very confusing for like an audience to be like, I am not sure. I just know they are them. That's it.
Oh my god, that's so funny because that's actually the exact energy I want to like have. Like I specifically got into VTubing and that kind of stuff to avoid getting profiled by a feminine or masculine energy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I was trying to type in your thing, I couldn't realize it either. So you're doing a great job.
Oh, yay.
But you see, that's the thing with Gemini energy. It's not quite like Aquarius energy because Aquarius energy can seem androgynous, where it just seems like there's nothing. With Gemini, it's like you can't tell if it's either or. That's the problem. Because it's like you can have masculine traits, but then you can also have very feminine traits, and they just trade off with each other like they're playing ping pong back and forth. So it's not like this thing where people a lot of the times can just pinpoint it, especially if you're an internet personality.
Hmm.
So also one thing that can come out of Gemini is like mimicking,
Oh.
because with like someone like say someone has the rising in Gemini, they'll meet people and then they can mimic traits that people have. You having a midheaven in Gemini, it's like your personality can go off of finding things interesting that other people do and mimic it with a twist.
Mm.
So it's almost like you get like, and the thing is that really goes along with how you're going to be learning to do things and get interested in things is like you see something you like and then you mimic it out in the public for them to see it. Now, obviously, that can come with like pros and cons. Obviously, it's a lot of fun to mimic something, you know, have your own twist on it and stuff, but then people can be like copycat.
Right. Yeah, I saw that with my first persona actually, because this isn't the original. This isn't what I started content. This character isn't what I started content creation with. and with that first character, with that first content, with that first persona, I was like, it was in the public's eye. I was very, very close to, if not mimicking and ripping off Dream, the Minecraft YouTuber.
Mm.
And so I got a bunch of like hate from his fans and whatnot, saying that I was just trying to build off of his clout when that wasn't really my intention.
Yeah. Because, see,
So,
that's the whole thing. That's the mimicry. Because, like, you can create things, and even if you're not trying to, that's something to watch out for, too. Even if you're not trying to, it can come across like you're trying to copy something. So,
oh,
what's important is just making sure that, you know, this is what this is for. It's like you learning the value in what you're creating so that you don't really care what others are saying, because you're like, I know the value. I don't need you telling me that it's this or that. I know what it is. It's like,
right,
if you don't have that to back it up, then it really just feels like empty, like, well, maybe I did copy something.
right.
So that's why it's important to learn that and like really like solidify yourself in it, especially if it's something you really like, because
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy already, even if you don't have this, for people to be like you're copying somebody just because they want to be dickheads. So, but you having this energy is already going to be like, you like doing different things, you have a variety of interests, and then if you try something and someone's like it's copying, it's like, well, I like this and I'm doing it my way. Like you having that firm like foundation and knowing that, yeah, I liked it and I've seen it, but I'm doing it my way, is what's going to set you apart, instead of people just saying
Oh,
it's a copycat.
okay.
Because it's like,
That's
no one's reinventing the fucking wheel, okay?
right. They're just doing it differently.
Exactly.
Okay. That's good to keep in mind too, because there's a couple of things that I've been wanting to do, but I'm like, but they're so overused, they're so cliche, that kind of stuff. But I know how I could make it like different and spice it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's important. Like, a lot of things, like you see it in music all the time where people are like, oh, they recycled like this sound and blah blah blah. It's like, there's only so many freaking sounds, man, and
Right.
we've been
Like,
around for millions of years. Like, come on
yeah, at
now.
this point, it's like it's hard to be. Unfortunately, especially in the age of the internet, it's hard to be like truly, truly original.
Yeah, and you know, some people really like stake everything on that stuff. You know, like there's some things I want to be original with, but then there's other things where I'm like, oh, I just want to try that. You know,
Yeah.
you know, that's pretty much what it is. It's like doing things to see if you like it is pretty much what it comes down to. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to keep doing it anyways. So it's like, what's the point in trying to like reinvent everything if you don't even know if you like it?
Right. There is no point.
But yeah, that's one thing I wanted to say with that. And having Sagittarius down here does kind of lend to moving a lot with the fourth house, because you've had to do that.
Mm.
But what I wanted to give you for the transit thing, like I've been doing everybody, because your stuff's over here, which is pretty much lining up with what's happening to you right now,
Okay.
with how we started the reading, with how your mental health is important.
Yes.
Now, currently, literally like yesterday, Venus went retrograde.
Oh, great.
And that's happening in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house is what I've been telling you with all the Pisces energy, with like the subconscious. It deals with like mental health. It also deals with like hidden enemies. So people you didn't realize that weren't in it for your best good, just kind of showing up. And there's like,
Yeah.
you're realizing it, like it's coming to light, and it's like, oh, this is great, wonderful. Didn't know that I had, like, you were a problem, like that kind of thing.
That's so okay. And that happened yesterday?
Well, the shadow was leading up to it for like a couple weeks, but it literally did the retrograde yesterday. Yes, and it's gonna be.
That's so fucking funny, because yesterday is when everything came to a head with a group that I was part of, and I got kicked out because I accidentally offended someone I didn't think I would be able to offend.
Oh well.
It literally, quite literally, shit hit the fan yesterday. That is hilarious. That's funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, yours is like to a point on here, and the thing is,
Holy
since that
shit.
happened, you were already saying that it messed with your mental a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about, like, since this is happening in your 12th house, this is going to be a lot about you looking through relationships and the effect they have on your mental. And it's like, you're going to have, this is just because it happened doesn't mean it's over.
Right.
Because the way retrogrades work is they make things happen to where you have to go back and revise and revisit things, like all the words that you can think of. It's pretty much what retrogrades try to like bring up for you. Now, Venus is the planet of relationships. You have a lot of Venusian energy in your chart. So having a planet that its energy in your chart is important. Go retrograde means that a lot of stuff is going to happen dealing with the places that you have that energy. Now, 12th house we already talked about. You know, all that mental stuff. And then it in your 6th house affects your physical because of that Neptune, because Neptune is 12th house energy. So you're just having this ping pong back and forth between your mental and your physical health until you can get a hold on it. Because like I was telling you earlier with Taurus, which is the other Venusian energy, it's all about what you value and finding value in yourself. And that's what this is trying to teach you through a very hard mental health lesson, is how to value and have that for yourself as opposed to just placing all that on the relationships.
Right.
Now, if you choose to ignore it, it'll just repeat.
Right.
But having this happen, and it's gonna just like do this thing where it just kind of moves up slowly. It might get into your 11th house. I'm not sure how far back it's retrograding. I didn't look at the degree. But what it's doing is it's gonna make you revisit all these things that for a while have been having an impact on your mental health. Especially if you've just decided to like not pay attention to them. It could have been past relationships. It could be exes trying to talk to you. It could be past friendships and people trying to talk to you. It's all about putting you in a place where you're having to go, is this relationship something that's healthy for me?
Right.
And the fact that you're like, I need to sit down and talk to my boyfriend, well, yeah. you really do.
Okay.
There is a lot here that has to deal with you being able to see the value in having a stable mental health instead of just throwing it away and being like, my boundaries don't matter, I don't care.
Right.
Because as much as it would feel easier to do that, it takes a lot less energy to do that, a lot less work. It's just going to run you down very quickly. And this retrograde is going to last all the way until like September 3rd.
Oh, fun.
So, like, you know, you kind of got the tip started yesterday with that happening, but just because that happened doesn't mean people from that group aren't going to try to talk to you. It doesn't mean more things are going to occur. There might be people from that group that try to talk to you that want to remain friends, and you have to decide, is it healthy? Like, this isn't the same thing as, like, just you removing yourself from something. This is a lot of, like, health that comes into it. How does this person make me react in a way that's for my health? Like, do they make me want to do better for myself, or do they make me feel like I need to squash myself down? And then in that sense, I'm not taking care of myself.
Gotcha.
The other thing you have that's like behind my head here with this Virgo energy is you have Mars in Virgo also. Like, that's transiting, going across this. So while this is happening, there's going to be this focus and this energy you're starting to put into your physical self and how you're presented. I would say wait until after Venus retrograde if you're planning on doing anything crazy with like your hair or any aesthetic that you have that's brand new and you haven't tried it before. Because you might end up doing something on a whim that you're like, I really wish I didn't come September, and you're just stuck with it.
Okay.
That could be any bodily changes. It could also be like having a mental break. Like, you know, your mental kind of goes down and you're like, well, I'm going to shave my hair off. Like that kind of thing. The Britney Spears moment, we don't want that.
Okay.
Because this is very tied into your mental health right now. So it could come out into where you start like thinking, maybe I should change my appearance. Maybe I'll feel better. If you're thinking doing something you've never tried before during this time, wait until after September and see if you still feel that way. Because you don't want to do anything that's permanent, or at least like kind of semi-permanent, where like you have to wait like a long time, like cutting bangs, and then you're like stuck trying to grow the bangs back out forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, just give yourself the time to kind of get past this stage. Also, something that can come up with first house, like trying to change your appearance, is like starting like a drastic diet or something, or just not taking care of your physical body, period, because, you know, the neglect coming with this. Be conscious of this. Like, there is a balance that can be struck where you start learning some self-care and that structure that you need. You know, that was throughout the whole chart, saying that you need the structure, trying to implement little bits so you start trusting yourself.
Okay.
Even if it's like tiny routines, like it could be something like exchanging like an unhealthy drink for some water or something. Just something that you start doing that's mindful, to where you can start building trust with yourself, like, hey, I can keep this promise to myself. Because if you start small, it makes it to where it's easier to start incorporating bigger things you need to do, instead of just like a huge big change, which it can feel like you have the energy to do a huge big change, but it's better to put that energy into the smaller details so that you build the foundation for being comfortable with keeping it, instead of just like doing a big change and losing it.
Right. Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And it's funny. My mom she has a credit with a tattoo parlor, and I was gonna go get a new tattoo on my hand with my mom's credit, but I will hold that off.
Yeah, at least wait and do some research into it and make sure that it's something you really want. And if it's something you still want come September, like, go for it. But if it's like during all this and it's kind of like a stress relief because stuff is happening, I would hold off, because it would come September, you'd be like, why the hell did I do this?
Right, and a tattoo is a bit more permanent than cutting my hair.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, whether it's permanent or semi-permanent, just hold off and wait a bit and make sure that like you've gone through the things where you feel more stable and you've been working on things. Because the thing with creating structure is you got to start small so that you trust yourself to create bigger structure. Because if you're just like, I need to create all this at once, it's kind of like the thing I told you with the relationship thing. Like, you can daydream and want like all this stuff with it and list all the things you want, but if you don't do the bare minimum of like the non-negotiables, like, you don't have something to build on.
Right.
So it's like starting like with the finer details and kind of working up from there, and then you can add to them later. Like, you can make them prettier, you can make it more flamboyant if you want later, but doing like the bare minimum with like the basic details and getting that like solidified so you have something to build on is what's really important to start with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how to respond to that, bro.
It's a lot of work. It really is. But if you just try like one small thing each day, eventually they add up to a lot, like at the end of a month.
Okay.
Instead of being like, I gotta do all these things today and keep it up every single day, it's like that just gets exhausting, and then mentally you feel like, I can't do this.
So just something small and then working my way up.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to keep in mind too, especially because like all of my routines are gonna have to change because I'm moving in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm moving in the middle of all this too. Make sure, one thing to really make sure of with retrograde stuff, when signing contracts and stuff, really read everything. Read the hell out of it, because you don't want to have to come back to it later and be like, damn. Like, I really should have paid attention to that. Because like things might seem like they're moving slower, it might seem like things get a little messy, especially towards like the end of August, because there's going to be like a Mercury retrograde, which causes like communication delays, technology delays, things like that. It can also like mess up stuff with like written communication too, like contracts and stuff. So just make sure like you just take your time with it.
Okay.
There's no need to rush it. If you need to revise it and go back, do it.
Okay.
Like, don't feel like, you know, it might be an inconvenience to somebody, but be a bigger inconvenience to you to be charged an extra 1,000 in rent or something. So it's like,
yeah, that would be an issue.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
I can't afford that.
to them, it's like an inconvenience that you're having to do something, but for you, it could mean you being kicked out of a place. Like,
right.
it's like it's more than a minor inconvenience for you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to my roommate.
Yeah. And maybe,
Oh my gosh, the yawns.
and maybe get some more rest and don't feel guilty about it.
Right.
Because a good thing for your mental and helping you reset is get the rest you need so your body can, like, you know, go through that healing that it does while it sleeps, that regenerating our cells and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, go through that and then try to do things where you give yourself a little bit more nutrients when you get up, like whether it's like a healthy snack or something to kind of like get some energy back in your body. Just little things. So that way it's like you can slowly work your way towards, you know, doing all the stuff you need to for your move and then working through the stuff with your friends in the relationship. Like I said, for a lot of people, this would only be affecting like one really defined area. But since you have a Venusian chart energy, having a Venus retrograde is going to just affect a bunch of things. So you're having to go through a lot more during a Venus retrograde than, say, someone that has like more Jupiter themes that would be having a heavy Jupiter retrograde thing, which, you know, that kind of stuff is coming up. There's going to be like 7 planets retrograde soon. So
oh my gosh.
There's going to be a lot of people revisiting a lot of areas of life in the upcoming months.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely. At least Venus won't be retrograde while it's happening.
Oh,
It'll go direct while everything else is retrograde. But I mean, at least that'll be good. But yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of big generational planets, so there's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot seen in groups of people around the world when that starts happening. There might be a lot of things coming back, whether it's trends or just things we thought like should have died a death a long time ago, like coming back in waves. And for us to be like, I don't want this in my life, you know, just making conscious decisions is really what it's about. Making empowered conscious decisions.
Gotcha. That's good to keep in mind, especially with moving and my I think I'm trying to think of like what could possibly bite me in the ass that I didn't really fully pay attention to. And it would probably be the part of the contract with my doggo. So I would prefer to
Yeah, definitely pay attention to that.
well, yeah, especially because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you know what? I just realized I can't think of the number of how much it's going to cost extra a month for him to live in the house. So I should probably go check that.
There you go. Little details. And Virgo does rule house pets, so just gonna go right into those details.
Somebody. Go move? We can move? Huh? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Can you say hi? Say hi, Desi. Say hi, Desi. Fox, speak. Oh, not like that. God damn it.
Get your face.
Yeah, he's like, speak. Can I? How far can I shove my snoot into your mouth?
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks, buddy.
But yeah, just watch out for that stuff. And you should be okay. Just take it like a day at a time, because the thing is, like, 12th house stuff isn't something you want to rush or mess with. And it's like, you know, people will come out, if they're hidden enemies, they're going to out themselves, you know. If there's stuff going on. Another thing with 12th house is it is hidden talents. So going through these things and trying to like create structure, you might create a way for you to like discover a hidden talent too. So there's always
Ooh.
like, there's good and bad that comes out of each house. So like knowing each thing and knowing like, you know, having a healthy mental could actually create more space for you to be creative
Okay.
instead of like trying to fight through life. It's like, okay, I'm feeling better, I can do things.
Right.
And don't feel like if people aren't in your life that, you know, obviously if people exit, better people will enter. You just have to create
Mhm.
space for that. And you have to
Okay.
want that. You have to want people that respect structure instead of people that respect chaos. Because you
Right.
honestly need people that like approve of structure and like want to help you in that way and want to like respect boundaries.
Gotcha. That puts a lot of things into perspective, actually. Especially with stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, especially being in your own place, you're really gonna want that.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
But I'm going to end the episode here.
Okay. That's yeah, you're good. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
for having me on and for um sharing all of this with me because I tried to look at it one time like by myself and I was like I don't know how to fucking read this. What the fuck am I looking at?
I mean, it took me a while to get like this. I mean, like few years on and off of like researching things and just having an interest
Mhm.
in it. Everyone's different though.
Yeah.
I've been told I have an aptitude for it, so that's
You
probably why.
you seem very at home when talking about this kind of stuff, so
I know other people have been like, nah, I've been studying it for way longer than you, and I don't talk like that.
yeah.
But everyone's different in their strengths, so. But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
you take care of yourself, get some rest. It is deserved.
Cool.
Don't feel like it's not deserved. That's a part of value too, feeling like you deserve things.
Okay.
But yeah, you take care. And everyone, you take care too. Chat.
Yes. Take care of yourselves.
But yes. Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all soon. Bye.